I'm parked illegally. I'll need to move as soon as I can.
Oh, good. You're going to get a ticket?
I'll drive you.
You're gonna get a
Should be
ticket.
okay. I don't know.
Yeah, drive me to the L. Drive me to the L.
All right.
That'll get me out of here. What did I say, 3:15?
Check.
Hey listeners, thanks for tuning into the Jalapeno Podcast. This is a episode with Paulie Gee and Justin Bazdarich, both local New York restaurateurs. Paulie Gee is the owner of Paulie Gee's, a famous New York pizza place. In fact, we recorded this interview in Paulie's apartment above the Slice Shop on Franklin Street. He also has 3 others around the country in Chicago, Baltimore, and Columbus. And Justin Bazdarich is famous for Oxomoco, a Michelin star Mexican restaurant in Greenpoint, and also his first restaurants, Speedy Romeo. There's one in Brooklyn in Clinton Hill, Bed-Stuy, also one in Lower East Side. The one in Lower East Side also has a slice shop called Stilettos, one of the best slices in all the land. So go support both Paulie and Justin. You'll be happy that you did, and they'll probably be in there, so introduce yourselves. They're both great guys. They're inspiring. They're visionaries. They are hardworking. They had an idea, a passion for the restaurants that they wanted to create, places that they'd want to be customers at themselves that were in line with their aesthetic tastes and their values, their feelings that hit home for them, that they wanted to bring to the fore for everybody else in the form of their restaurants. So Paulie Gee and Justin Bazdarich, 2 New York legends, local restaurateurs, pizza kings, and we get into this episode about what it takes, what got them into restauranting, what it takes to succeed, what they're looking for, and also hopefully you all get to know them a little bit better. So thank you again for tuning in. Thanks for your support. Thanks, Justin. Thanks, Paulie. Very glad to have you on the show, and certainly happy to spread the word. Here we go. For the tape, can you guys just introduce yourself? Just say your name and your whatever you want to say about yourself.
I'm Paulie Gee, and I'm a Greenpoint restaurateur.
Hey, whoa.
Yeah. Paulie Gee, what's your last name?
Giannoni.
Hell yeah.
Hi, I'm Justin Bazdarich, chef, owner of Speedy Romeo and Oxomoco.
We can test the mic. Paulie, what kind of music are you listening to these days?
Oh, all kinds of stuff.
Like what?
Funk, fusion from the 70s, early 80s.
Hell yeah.
I always listen to classic rock.
Nice.
R&B, regional R&B, because I like to make a playlist that's you're not going to hear on the radio.
I like it.
There's a few things mixed in that songs I really like that you might hear on the radio, but I like to find other stuff, and so I find all this regional R&B where, like, there was a station in Newark or a record label in Newark that played all the stuff I never heard. Cool. It's really good. It's just as good as the stuff that got blasted out all over the country. So
yeah. Have you ever heard of Chances with Wolves?
Yeah.
I find a lot of stuff on there that I no business finding on my own.
My musical taste is very eclectic. I listen to a lot of Americana.
Yeah.
A lot, but like Jason Isbell. I like.
Justin's on Grateful Dead. I've noticed him.
Strictly.
Yeah, that's it. and related bands. You're like the fucking Springsteen fans that would only listen to Springsteen and anybody from fucking Jersey Shore.
It's not true. I've been with the new car that has Sirius XM in it. I'm like, my horizons have expanded.
Nice.
Because I used to just be, I would only listen to the radio, what was on the radio, and I wouldn't have CDs or whatever, and I wouldn't plug in my phone to like play something off the internet. And so now that I have Sirius like XM radio, like my worlds have expanded.
Yeah. Yeah. What about in the shop? Do you guys play music like?
Do you make your own You said you make your own playlist.
Yeah, I make my own.
How do you do it?
I just, I go out and I buy shit off of iTunes.
So that contributes to the morale, I imagine, for your team, is the type of music you're playing.
It does. Yeah, they'll get all bent out of shape if they hear the same song twice in a shift. It's like the end of the world. But then it's a double-edged sword. If you let them run the playlist, then you come into like gangster rap at like noon,
Right.
and it's like, you know, there's kids and families in the restaurant.
Yeah.
So
Doesn't work. Speaking of that, managing, one of the things, like, you're running a restaurant, I imagine, is a challenge. Also part of the fun is managing people, managing the team, your own culture kind of behind the scenes.
right.
Can we talk a little bit about that? Dealing with different personalities, like how do you go about that? Like the management of your own team.
One thing, a tool that I've tried to have everybody do at all the restaurants is to have a pre-service meeting.
Yeah. Like a huddle.
The kitchen does one, and the front of house should do one. And I've found that if that happens, then everyone just has some sort of break. Who knows what their mind is on?
Yeah.
You know? So if you break for 5 minutes to say, okay, everyone come here.
Uh-huh.
And then you say, the chef says something of like, okay, so, you know, it's Friday night, New York City, Brooklyn, you know, we got this many covers, we got this. You guys did great last night on this. Food looked great, new dishes are looking great. Then there's something you want them to work on, then you could say, okay, so what we want to work on tonight is communication, blah, blah, blah. You pick something to make them, I don't know, better. Yeah. And then finish it off with something positive again. And then this is a great one that I don't know where I got it from, but it's like we all put our hand in, and then whoever puts their hand on top, they have to decide what we say on 3.
Oh, cool.
And so it's like, you know, people get nervous or people, I don't know what to say. I don't know what the word should be. And then, you know, we just decide on something and it's 1, 2, 3.
Love it.
Tacos or 1, 2, 3. Pizza.
Yeah.
Then everyone giggles and like laughs. And then you know, wherever they were, their mind has been taken to somewhere else. And we're all like, we all say that same word. And then we go on with our shift.
Love it. I'm fired up thinking about it.
And I've noticed that.
Not me. I don't do any of that. I just do everything over email. Everybody gets the emails. And if they don't read the email, you know, they get fired. Okay. I tell people that email is the way we communicate. And you have to check your email multiple times a day. Yeah. And I do it all that way. We used to do family meals. I mean, the whole restaurant thing to me is like that. I didn't get into the restaurant business to be in the restaurant business. I got in the restaurant business to have fun and play music for people and feed people, right? Yeah. So I did family meal for a while until they'd be fucking sitting there eating while people are at the door, and it's 6:02, and you know they're looking in and they're still eating the pizza that they were supposed to eat at 5:30, but they sat down at 5 to 6 because they're too busy on their phone. Yeah. So that's how Paulie Gee runs.
So maybe you could try.
Can I say fuck
you
on
can
here?
say as much
okay. It happens once in a while.
So but like, it's interesting to me as an outsider to imagine, you know, obviously you're contributing to the culture of the community, and then you have your own culture inside, you know, as a customer, there's a culture that you feel, but then behind all that is the people making it happen. So it's fun to kind of imagine this type of thing, a pregame speech, essentially, just like you would before a sports game, to get people excited about it.
And the best way to get people excited is hire people who want to open up their own place. Hire a dishwasher who wants to be a pizza maker. Yeah. You get a great dishwasher. They don't last long as a dishwasher because you got to reward them. Sure. But in the meantime, you get them. But you're usually scrambling for a dishwasher because last minute thing, you fire somebody and now you hire somebody new. You don't have time to find the perfect person who wants to open up their own place who's willing to wash dishes. Right.
So what else are you looking for in a hire?
I mean, a heartbeat. No, I mean, but with that, it's like I say that jokingly, but it is, you know, attitude goes a long way. Yeah. You know, like even though if they haven't had that much experience, if they're just sort of like energetic and happy, you know, I find a lot of interviewees that come through the door are just sort of like lethargic and kind of like, you know, if they even make it to the door, you know, that's the like incredible practice of, right? It's like if I'll place a Craigslist ad, let's say I get 100 resumes, right? For some, I'll put $20 an hour to like capture as many resumes as possible. I'll get 100 resumes. Then say 20 of them, say 20 of them are worth calling back, are good, and think they should be on the team. Let's say 15 of them I can get in touch with. I get in touch with them. I set up a trail. let's say 10 of them are able to come and set up a trail. We put them on the calendar. I'd say maybe 2 to 3 will actually show up.
That's
for
a
the
good
trail.
number. Yeah, that's a good
What?
number. I think it's probably a little better with pizza maker maybe. Or, dishwashers, I know 1 in 5 are showing up.
Right.
1 in 5. That's it.
1 in 5 applicants or 1 in 5
1 in 5
employees?
people whose interviews have been set up,
Okay.
and I'll be there. You can count on me. Show
right.
up. 1 in 5.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's all kinds of look. And I have this little note I send out, and I'm going to read it to you right now. Okay.
We'll book 5 people at a time, knowing that 1 will come.
Right. Okay, so all you're looking for then, good attitude, little initiative, and accountability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's-
Simple enough. If anyone's on the job market.
Yeah, and then from there, then it's just like Paulie said, if they're looking to open their own place, then that's the attitude you want because they have some sort of longevity or some
Right.
goal that they're after.
Yeah. Which is
that's
which is
important.
what you did, Justin, right? I mean, for a long time you worked for someone else.
Yeah, for 9 years I'd worked for someone else.
And you always knew you were going to do your own thing?
To a certain degree, yes,
Yeah.
I did. But then I didn't rush into it.
Right.
You know, I took 9 years working with one company to try to learn everything I could, so then I could hope to implement that stuff with my own places. You know.
Right. Yeah, yeah. More about
ready?
it's like, yeah,
Read
go
that,
for it,
yeah.
Paulie.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. Thanks for wasting my time. Now you have your email that you can show your wife, girlfriend, or boyfriend, mother, and unemployment that makes them think you're looking for work.
Dang.
That's the text you sent.
That's what happened. Yeah. No, email.
Or
Or
email,
whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's
Yeah, because that's what they're doing.
Gets the
They
point
set up the
across.
appointment, and they just want to show somebody they're looking for work. I'm
Right.
convinced of that. I'll bet.
You ever get a
Anything.
response?
Yeah, everyone. Yeah, fuck you, asshole. You know, every once in a while. You know,
That's amazing.
once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
But really, that's what happens. They just, they're
Yeah.
not really interested.
Yeah, well, that's a bummer. You put time aside. You're trying to give them an opportunity, and then they don't show up. So back to that, Justin. When you were working with Jean Georges, was it right?
Yep.
And I feel like restaurants are one of the things that everyone kind of fantasizes about having their own, and they think that they could maybe do it. But the vision versus the manifestation of the vision are two very different things. So, like, I want to learn more about like how each of you came into the path that led you to where you've both become, and for listeners, with two restaurant legends, living legends of New York in the same room here.
Nothing to say there.
But let's talk more about like how it came to be.
Well, in my case, in terms of it being not what you thought it was going to be,
Yeah.
for years I'd cook at home. That's what I did as a hobby. I'd invite people over and I want to just cook for them and play music for them, introduce them to stuff. And people would say all the time, you should open up your own restaurant. And I want no part of that at all, right? But I always remember other people saying, restaurants, it's really hard. It's really difficult, right? And it took me 2 years to start thinking, wait a second. I remember people saying this was going to be hard. And it was not for me at all because, and I'm thinking right now as we're talking, I'm listening to you about how you were, designing how you run things. It's kind of a process, right? Me, I just run things the way it makes me feel good. And so because of that, I'm having fun.
Yeah.
The only time I stress out is when I get that text an hour before service that, their leg was cut off and then it's not going to be sewn back on until tomorrow. It always gets sewn back on the next day. You have people that are out for 2 days at a time sick? Because I don't. They're always sick for 1 day.
Oh, right,
And when I get sick, I don't recover for days, right? So, but other than that, I designed a restaurant the way I enjoy it. I hate to go to meetings. I always hated meetings and work, right? So I don't have meetings.
Yeah.
And I'm just doing what works for me.
Yeah.
And it goes against the grain.
Yeah. So you liked to cook, you liked to have your friends over, socialize, talk about music or whatever. And then that led you to starting a pizza restaurant. And it sounds like that was...
Yeah, I had
was
to
it?
do something.
Yeah.
And I chose pizza because it was simple. compared to like running an Oxomoco or something like that, right?
Or even Speedy Romeo's rest of their
Yeah. Pizza is just, you chop up a bunch of stuff and you saute a bunch of stuff during the day. You put it in containers. You pull it out at night. You put it all into the same apparatus. And that's it. I got 3 salads and 2 soups,
Yeah.
One soup is sitting in a crock pot that I just take out and I put in the pizza oven with some cheese on top. It's delicious. But it was simple, and that emboldened me.
Yeah.
That allowed me to say, you know what, I'll take this chance now because I think I could do that.
Because you could wrap your head around the menu offering was something you understood.
Yeah, and because whatever I was going to do, it had to be special. 50, when I decided to do it, I was like 54 years old, and I don't want another job, and I wanted it to be something that my family could be proud of, and I could be proud of. So,
and what makes it special?
Well, people like it. People are told that the wait is 2 hours, and they're willing to fucking wait. That's just, I don't get it. I'm very happy about that. But I think what makes it special is it's. I'm not serving pizza. I'm serving a dining experience. I mean, even here in a slice shop now, people aren't coming. There's other pizza around that tastes like mine. Okay. But the place doesn't look like it looks downstairs. People are connecting with what I created.
Yeah.
It's either the slice shop is like vinyl to me. It's either people are connecting with it because they missed their vinyl records from when they were in, back in the 60s and 70s or whatever, or they're connected with it because they want to feel what I felt in the 60s and 70s. So that's what makes it special. Over there at the wood-fired place, you go in, it's very seductive. It's a beautiful looking place, just like Justin's place is.
Yeah.
And I play my music really loud. Okay, because I want people to hear the music. I don't want it to be like this little background thing because that's part of what I'm offering them.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I think it offers subliminally a message that I'm not just here for the pizza. This is an experience.
Yeah, I love that. And tell me more about what was it that you were feeling in the 60s and 70s that you're trying to replicate? What was that feeling?
Well, what I'm trying to replicate in the slice shop is just what a slice shop was like. You go in, the wood panel walls. It was all about, just getting the place open and not making it look like, a palace. And, and just serve classic, pizza. And
Justin, you've said some similar things to me in the past about creating a approachable feeling place and kind of, what were your thoughts when you were going into it at the get-go? Like, what do you want to make?
When I travel, I always try to, be it in the United States or around the world, I try to find the oldest restaurants, the institutions of like the whatever neighborhood we're staying in or, city. And, for me, those are always where I had memories of that town or city I'd always travel to. So it was sort of with the first Speedy Romeo, that was the goal. And that's what we kept trying to say is that we want to create an institution for the neighborhood, and I think we really did that well in Brooklyn, be it where there was a lot of families over there. I've seen when we first opened, pregnant women come in to now their kids are 6-7 years old, still eating the pizza, or the food. And was very special to me to have a place that is considered that.
Yeah.
That's sort of what we tried to do with Lower East Side. It was sort of a harder fit down there in that neighborhood. That's where we started to offer slices down there because it's like a,
different clientele.
That's an interesting thing too. Over time, I've there's many times where I would say no, or people would come into Brooklyn restaurant and be like, "Can we get a slice?" I'd be like, "No," and then they would walk out the door and it's full pies only, and then it's like, okay, now 7 years in, I'm like, how many slices did I turn away?
You're in the right place for a slice down there.
Have you had stilettos?
No. No, because every time I show up, it's gone already. They're gone half the time.
You got to get there, man.
Yeah, no, I will.
Change your life.
I will.
Oh, I don't know about that. Thank you, though. That's nice to say. But, that's been the same thing with the Mexican restaurant. It was sort of like just trying to build a place that seems like it was there for a long time, or it's a bit of a destination. Same thing Paulie said with downstairs, the slice shop. It's like you're walking into sort of something that doesn't make you feel like you were in your day.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it took you out of your life for a minute to sit down there and have a slice in a place that's going to make you feel like you're in the 60s and 70s. And same with your original spot. You know, it's like that is a seductive kind of, you know, the design is really cool, and you know, the music is loud, and that's you know, it's like I'm jealous of that music and that playlist, and then it's because it's.
Why are you jealous of it?
No, it's because it's like something that I like sitting here. I was thinking to myself, like, I need to just sit down at the computer and make some lists, because it's like I'll get jammed up that like, oh, the music's no good in my restaurant, or this is like, it's always things I want to.
It's fun. It's like a hunt. It's like, you know,
Yeah.
it's enjoyable to find this new music. Like I have a friend who's a DJ, and I'll go to his place, you know, where he's spinning now and look for songs. I'll take out Shazam. I could just ask him. And I'm finding new things that I could put on there.
Yeah.
It's been a 9-year process for me. My list over there started with 1,500 songs.
Started
And
with 1,500.
1,500, yeah.
And so you just put it on repeat.
Thanks
or
to
put it on-
thanks to the brothers, the Hasselgraves.
Right.
I had a more eclectic list, and I was playing it for them while they were building the place. And they said, Paulie, you should just focus on that late 60s, early 70s rock, R&B. And that's what I started with. I had that. And
When you started Oxomoco, and I wish that we had done this, we didn't pull it off because the timing wasn't right. But remember, we were going to do an episode, like walking around the restaurant before
Right.
it was even renovated. Mm-hmm. But that ship has sailed. But next time. But like what that to me that looks like a pretty gutsy move, going from Speedy's to doing something totally different. Or is it to you? Is it different, or what made you want to do that?
To me, it wasn't so different.
Yeah.
I mean, I kept the same format of the menu. There's a list of appetizers.
Yeah.
There's a list of pizzas. I flipped that to a list of tacos, and then there's a list of grill items. We kept that over there, and then there's dessert. So I kept the same format. I just changed the country, the origin of food.
Yeah.
But I stuck with the same blueprint, if you will. So then from there, I just plug and play different recipes, ingredients, and
Gotcha.
that was it. But it's like that, you know, we're share the same brick and mortar as the dough would be the, you know, the basis, the bloodline of the restaurant.
Yeah.
Flour, water, yeast. Where then over
Salt.
there,
Don't forget
little
salt.
then over here, it's just masa. It's corn. You know, so
Michelin star, folks.
wow.
No biggie.
Geez,
well, it took them a
Congrats.
long time to get it, though.
Yeah.
knock on wood.
The real question: when are you going to start your high-end Mexican place?
Ain't gonna happen. Yeah, the only Mexican food I love is Justin's.
Oh, thanks. Bob. You're the best.
But what you need to do is you need to get a little Tex-Mex and get me some flour tortillas, okay? Because I'm
working
not a
on
corn
that.
guy.
I'm working on that.
I would love that.
over here.
I would love that. I would actually send people to your restaurant if you did that.
Oh, really? But that's sweet of you. That's nice.
Other than my wife and her friends. who,
Okay. Yeah.
How did you guys first get to know each other?
I came to his place.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
I
were you-
met him and Todd.
Yeah.
I came there. I was curious to see what he was doing there.
The swaggering.
And that
young
was it.
buck.
And I found out about, you know, Speedy Romeo, the origin of that whole thing. And I was really jealous of that.
Oh, man.
You know, having a connection to a thoroughbred like that.
That was fun. We lucked out with that name. That's a great name.
Yeah. Say a little more about that for people that don't know.
Speedy Romeo was my business partner, Todd Feldman's parents' racehorse in the late 70s, early 80s.
So cool.
So it was a trotter horse, ran in the sort of tri-state area tracks, meadowlands.
But it was a good horse.
Yeah.
It was a good horse. I said thoroughbred. I had forgotten it was.
Did you know about Speedy Romeo before?
I knew that name. I
Yeah.
did. Yeah, I did.
And Justin is from Kansas City. What brought you here initially from outside?
I came to New York in 2001, right before 9/11. I got here in May, I think. And then I started culinary school at the French Culinary Institute in Soho.
So you came here for school.
I came here for culinary school, but then it was that I had previously to being in New York, I was back in Kansas City, and before Kansas City, I was living in Texas, and I'd worked for this woman there, and she'd showed me this the Jean Georges cookbook.
Yeah.
And so that was sort of my like vision, and like, I don't know, it was serendipitous, if you will, but it was like I wanted to work in a place like that. And then once that was sort of all I knew about a New York City restaurant. And so from there I came to culinary school, moved to Brooklyn. And then like my first couple weeks of culinary school, I went to the career services office, got the phone number to the Jean Georges kitchen, called, asked if I could come work there for free. They said, come tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then that was the beginning of that relationship.
Cool. And
Because I was going to try to continue doing my day job, right?
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to take a big risk and perhaps lose my house because of it. So I was going to try to do my day job and run this pizzeria at night, because all the places that I idolized opened at like 5 o'clock, except for Roberta's.
day job is what?
Roberta's. I masqueraded as a corporate IT professional, okay?
Nice.
And
But you had bigger dreams.
I had big nightmares coming my way, and I had a freight train coming at me, and I had to do something. I never, because of my mediocrity in the profession that I chose, I was never going to let my family suffer. I wanted to have a good time too, and we went on lots of nice vacations. We went on ski vacations out west all the time. We went all over. We really didn't want for much, but the way I accomplished that was taking short-term credit card debt, rolling it into a mortgage, and it just kept on going and going. And, my wife kept on saying, we have to spend less. I said, no, we got to make more. We got to make more. It wasn't working, and I said, we got to figure something out. And finally, long story short, I decided to open up a pizzeria because, it was simple. And I built an oven at home to practice on. It wasn't like I'm a hobbyist making pizza, and I built that oven so that I could prove to myself, because I wasn't like Justin. I didn't go to culinary school.
Yeah.
I didn't work in Jean Georges for 9 years. I didn't do anything. But I looked around and I saw Mark Iacano, for one, my biggest influence. If you don't know who he is, he owns Lucale. He opened up Lucale. He worked on it he was handy. He worked on it for 2.5 years, the space. But he opened up, and literally within days, he was the most popular pizzeria in New York City.
Wow.
And that gave me such belief that somebody who came from another, discipline, he was a marble countertop fabricator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He opened up this place, and I saw that could be.
Yeah.
And that emboldened me too, and gave
Beautiful.
me the courage
Right.
to take that risk, because you have to take risks.
Yeah. And a lot of people think that if they didn't go to culinary school and they're, midway through their career or their life or whatever, they're like, oh, well, I can't go do that because I'm an IT person. But the fact is, there's no rule.
But you don't know that.
You don't know that unless you try it.
I didn't know it. I discovered I was meant to be the boss and not have a boss. I had no idea. If you told me that I have to go back to work for somebody, I'd do one of two things tonight, maybe tomorrow. I would either slowly take OxyContin until I was gone, okay, listen to some good music along the way, or I would call my son and say, that room down there in the basement, that's mine now. Get ready.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Make sure that 72-inch TV works.
Yeah.
Because I just love not having a boss.
Yeah. You like running the show. Do you feel similarly?
I do. Yeah. I mean, it's so funny. I don't know what it is, and I don't know what it means, but like lately I have so many dreams about Jean Georges. It's wild. I don't know what it's like. I don't know. It's very interesting that it's like continuing to happen. And then I don't know.
What is the feeling in the dream? Like
the feeling in the dream, like lately, this is getting deep.
Let's do it.
The feeling in the dream is, I think like I need to like go further into the creative part of being a chef. It's, I guess recently I've got to the point where it's like with 3 businesses and being a dad, it's like I like wasn't able to like have any thought process of like, oh, I want to come up with a new pizza, or I want to do a new dish at Speedy Romeo, or I want to, I was kind of recycling ideas that I'd done to kind of just go change menus with the seasons or whatever. Yeah. Where and like I kind of went like sort of down a rabbit hole of like, do I even want to be a chef anymore? Like this was like a month ago. Like, I don't know am I really enjoying this, the restaurant industry, where it's like, I'm not doing what I'm good at, which is like being creative and teaching people my new dishes that I've created and tasting them and being excited about the food that I've created, to like the point of like, do I want to do this anymore? Or would I rather prefer, like, I always wanted to be an artist, and, and I've been, photography has become like a hobby of like, where Paulie Gee used to have his office job to then be making pizzas in the backyard that then turned into, I don't know, maybe when I'm 55, I'll go into filmmaking or something.
Yeah.
That's sort of the idea where I've like, or it's just, I don't know. It's like
He takes awesome photos.
I was a photography major. I'd like to see those.
Really?
I was a
Do you
photographer.
follow my personal Instagram?
I don't know. I thought I did.
Those photos are incredible.
Oh, thanks.
And you throw them out on the regular.
Yeah, I try to keep my camera with me at all times now to kind of either take pictures of the food or
The city.
I have to look for that. I like to see that.
Bazdarich. It's just my last name.
So sounds like what you're saying is that there's so much on your plate, no pun intended, with your running businesses and being a father, that you feel like the creative part of your energy has been sapped by just managing all the moving parts.
To a certain degree, yeah. But lately I'd finally bit the bullet and hired help to like help me with all my administrative stuff that I have to do.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to like, there's a time where I'd like felt ashamed to like say that I had or needed to do that. It's been such a relief to me that it's like, to just almost like just help me through my email. Like we started, you're like, email is part of your responsibility as an employee of Paulie Gee's. And it's like, it's like my email at this stage of my career is like a full-time job.
Yeah.
To me, to be
And
on
social media. Do you do your own social media?
So
for
he's
the
been
restaurants?
my assistant, Ben, which is, I was like ashamed to say I had an assistant, until I've realized that it's just like, I need the help to do it.
Ashamed
it's like,
because you felt like that meant you couldn't handle it yourself.
like I couldn't handle it myself or like that. It felt like bougie for me to be like, oh, well, my assistant will get back to you. It's like, I didn't like feel like I was,
Well, with one restaurant, you could do it, but once you have more, it really gets it gets hairy. I'm very fortunate because my wife just retired, and my wife has taken up all of those things.
Yeah.
and she doesn't seem to mind doing it. And to give credit, by the way, I do have a manager. Andrew runs the place. The slice shop is really Andrew, because I can't be in two places.
Yeah. Right. Well, that was one of the things I was so curious about. Again, as an outsider, it is mind-boggling to imagine like the hectic pace and the time sensitivity of the work, and the fact that every customer that walks through the doors is expecting to be treated like gold, and it doesn't seem like you can ever step off. You have to sort of always be on. And I'm curious about like how you do manage that. Like at the end, when the day is done, I imagine you're exhausted. How do you stay on top of everything to know that you're going to be ready to come through the next day and deliver?
In my case, my role is to be there and make sure everything's being done right. Okay, because my dough recipe, the oven has to be at 1,000 degrees. So that's the one big thing that I keep an eye on. I make sure that everything's being served properly. But other than that, I'm talking to guests. I go around and that's what I love to do anyway. I'm curious about people. I love to talk to people, find out about them, share information that I have with them. I mean, one of the big things for me is, I wear a different pizza hat every night in the restaurant to promote other places, and I get to tell people, oh, you should go here, if you like this kind of pizza or whatever. People are taken aback by that. But so I'm doing what I love, so it's not stressful.
Yeah, I think one of the things people love about Paulie Gee's is that your character is represented in the experience, because you're kind of floating around saying hello to people, welcome to my restaurant. That doesn't really happen. Like in the age of Amazon, and I think we're kind of spoiled in New York where I could go to Speedy's and then walk down the block, exaggeration, but walk not too far and be at Paulie Gee's, and these amazing restaurants are all over the place. But it's not, I don't think, very common to have a restaurant where The
It
owner's
shocked me.
there. The owner lives above it, and he's there floating around talking to his clientele. And
It shocked me how much people appreciate. You're around too, right? They write. You look at my Yelp reviews. 9 out of 10 people mention that I was there.
that's cool that you promote other restaurants. So it doesn't sound like you guys are competitors, but it doesn't seem like.
We don't have. I have a couple of competitors. I won't tell you who they are, but not many at all. Maybe one. Okay.
But it's still. It doesn't seem like
We're colleagues.
colleagues. I love that.
Right. Yeah, it's very, and if you're ever to see these conventions that happen like in Las Vegas and Atlantic City, it's just incredible to see how people like band together.
Yeah.
To learn from one another and like, commiserate with one another. It's the pizza, there is almost like a pizza family that is, it's very unique. I don't know. I just wouldn't have ever seen it that way. That it's very friendly, and it's cool. It's fun. It's great to. I'm proud to be a part of that.
Yeah,
It's the best way to compete is not to compete.
Right.
Really, if you try to say you're better than somebody else or whatever, people don't want to hear that.
Right.
Right.
Let somebody else say it.
What are some other things that have surprised you?
Well, I thought that I had to be making pizza all the time. My idols, Mark Iacano, Dom DeMarco from DeFara's, Chris Bianco, they were making pizza all the time. And I set my place up. My pizza station is an homage to Mark in that it looks like an altar. He was, he stands there and going with the dough and watching everybody. Logistically, it's a great thing to do so you could see the whole room. But I thought I was going to be doing that, and it got to I couldn't do it because of my personality and me putting myself out there. People wanted to meet me, so I had to talk and make pizza at the same time. It was impossible.
Yeah.
And plus, I had to change light bulbs because apparently I'm the only one who I've ever hired that knows how to do that. So I was surprised and pleasantly surprised because I thought, you know what, I have to do this. I have to support my family. And if I have to stand there and make pizza 6 nights a week, that's what I'm going to do. But I don't have to do it. So,
I mean, I could sort of piggyback off that. It's like it's you at a certain point you have to just let go, And also, I have learned that once people start to get in the rhythm of doing it, they do it much better than me quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like our mozzarella. It's like I started the practice off to show them how to do it, and now they've like transcended what I was doing from the very beginning. You know? But
how do you feel about that when they do something or they come up with a way better than you taught them?
Good. I mean, I feel good. It's like it's when I was at French Culinary Institute, one of our dean of studies, Andre Soltner, is like a classic or just a famous French chef. I think he was the chef of Latouche back in the day.
Latouche, I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
In a long time.
So he was the chef of that, and he was one of our deans. They'd come around and walk around the kitchens every once in a while, and he did a little talk in the auditorium, and I'll never let it go. But it was, he said, the most important thing about being a chef is humility and being humble, and you can always learn from the master chef who's had 60 years experience to the guy that's got 1 day on the job that doesn't know any way of doing it different and just thinks he may put some technique or some twist on something that you're like, oh, it's like I had for instance, there was a pizza, when it comes out of the oven, we drizzle the crust with a garlic oil. And so I'm always taking the garlic oil and making a circle with my hand. And so then we promoted one of the dishwashers to be a pizza cook, which turned out to be a ninja. And he would just hold the sauce in one spot, spin the pie.
Love it.
Pie.
And it's just like, wow, look at that,
Yeah.
And he's like, it's easier. I'm like, yeah, right. I explain to all employees, and it's the way I try to live my life, is that how do we do it better tomorrow than we did it today?
Love it.
How do we do it better today than we did it yesterday? So we always have to be open to that, like easier, faster, better, without a degradation of the end result. you know, because it's all means to an end. So if there's an easier, faster means to get the same result, then I'm 100% open to it. There's always some sort of evolution process that has to happen. You know, it's like for me to stop saying no to not having slices to like, yeah, we have slices. You know, was something that took, I mean, for Lower East Side, it took 3 years to do, but that was also to help out the like daytime business over there because we wanted to make it more approachable to the neighborhood where we were losing out on. You know.
Are you getting a late night crowd coming in for slices?
No, we basically stopped that process because what we did with the slices was provide them at lunch now. So now we've like, you know, we never had a sign on the front of the building that said pizza. You know, so we put out a hand-painted sign that hangs across the sidewalk that says pizza.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like now people are just seeing that and walking in.
I always imagine, especially in your neighborhood, that the drunk slice was something that you could really capitalize on. I thought I would do it here with the slice shop, and it hasn't happened.
Not enough drunks around.
No,
that was
not.
all right.
I think they all go to Joe's anyway.
Is there anything, or if there is, what do you wish you knew when you were starting out that you didn't know?
Well, in terms of helping other people, what I wish is I wish I realized that too big is too big, because two of the places have 2 ovens and it's very big, and we now know that the ideal size is really just, you know, enough for 1 oven, about 65 seats. And these other places, it took them a long time to get up to the point where they're filling it. It's so I recommend people now, if I'm going to do something with them, that it's smaller. I wish I realized
Physically
that.
smaller.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So.
And then what about like the mindset or the approach? Anything there that you were off on at the beginning?
No. I love, you know, I treat everybody the same.
You just hit a home run right from the get-go.
I did. I did. Well, no, I was fortunate in that I didn't hit a home run, but people thought I did.
Yeah.
Okay, I came to a neighborhood where people embraced us right away.
Mm-hmm.
It was sort of like Greenpoint at that point was sort of like the little sister, little brother to Williamsburg, and people wanted it to be more like that. And there was no pizzeria like Roberta's there or some of the other pizzerias you'd find there. And so when we opened up, people were willing to overlook our blemishes, and that was very helpful. Yeah. I look back at some of the fucking pizza that we served.
Same.
Oh my God.
Really?
You know, and, you know,
What do you mean?
Well, it wasn't stretched enough. It just, you know, it just wasn't right. And, you know, so.
You had your blunders too?
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's at the time you don't know any different. You're like, oh wow, look at that, and there it goes, and they love it, you know. But it's like looking back, it's like there's like some Yelp photos that are from the very beginning of time for Speedy Romeo Brooklyn. That's just like, oh God,
really?
Oh, just awful presentation and like, you know. And granted, I like had to clean up my own act, but it was just. I think what helped us too was that like same scenario. It's like we were in almost Bed-Stuy, you know, there was nothing over there, and so people were like salivating for just some sort of restaurant to be near that they could walk to.
Yeah.
And so once we were available, that it was like, you know, and the wood fire is such a draw.
Kind of neat to be able to look back on it, and it also speaks to the idea that you're creating. Yes, the food's delicious, but you're creating an experience that people are hungry for. You know, there's something bigger than the sum of its parts.
It has to be. It has to be. No.
I cut you off earlier. You said you treated everybody the same. What were you getting at?
Everybody's a VIP, Paulie Gee's. You know, I want people to come back.
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, you know, have you been here before? No, it's my first time. I immediately say, I hope it's not your last time. You know, it's like a boom.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have to treat people well. You have to make them feel welcome. You know, I tend to like the people who like me. There aren't too many assholes around, so you know,
makes it easier.
Yeah.
What's it like for you though? Because I mean, especially with Oxomoco, it seems you've gotten a lot of eyes on it, and I imagine there's people, all sorts of industry types coming by and sizing you up, and
yeah. I mean, the reservation requests they've died out a little bit, but it was aggressive for a while. With the Michelin star scenario, it's sort of a mental double-edged sword of like, are we still good enough as we were when they gave us this thing? It's sort of never letting my guard down while I'm in the restaurants.
Yeah.
So it's just sort of like it's it's I don't want to say it's a curse, but it's like I'm always looking for what's wrong.
Yeah.
At the restaurant, and it's hard to kind of go in there and be like happy, joyous, and free, and like float around, and kind of like I'm in a sort of curse to kind of always be like seeing red, to be like, oh, that's not right, that needs dusting, that light bulb needs change. Why didn't anyone change that?
Because nobody cares like you do. You have to.
Right.
Nobody cares like you.
Right.
You've been here forever. What would you recommend to somebody coming to New York for a weekend? Food or otherwise?
Oh, food. There's nothing else matters. Forget everything else.
Where did you send him?
Oh God, I'll send him to his place.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I mean, for pizza, I have so many recommendations. Cold Oven Pizza, Totono's, Adrian's Pizza Bar on Stone Street, which is a nice experience. Like an Italian restaurant. I send them to Sam's, Court Street in Cobble Hill. I send them. I love old school places. I don't like places that arrange food on a plate and everything. I'm more of a,
You've been to John's on Bleecker?
I have. I love John's on Bleecker.
Yeah,
it's salty and oily and delicious. But another place I love, but it's not in New York. It's in New Jersey. I took Justin to a place called the Belmont Tavern, which is like this old school.
And that's that institution I was talking about. Like that's where I'd seen him going there for years, and I'm like, take me. He doesn't even need the menu. They come, they know him. He starts speaking in codes of whatever he's ordering. I have no idea what's going to come.
Shrimp beeps.
And then we had a great meal, and it's a great, that was a great night and a great experience.
I love it.
Those are the places I love. There's two places left in New York. There used to be a lot more. They're called focacciarias. They originated in Palermo, and I'd say that maybe there were a dozen of them here 100 years ago, maybe a little more, that serve all these Sicilian specialties. And there's only two of them left. I send people there all the time. Yeah. Have you been to either one of those places? No. Joseph Avenue U, I love it. It's way out. It's in Gravesend. And Ferdinando's Focacceria, which is on Hicks, right by the BQE. It's on, Hicks is the BQE.
Yeah,
Union and Hicks. And those are the kind of places I like. They're, it's not this big fancy place. It's just...
I want to talk a little bit more about what I get the idea sort of what the institution means, but can you just explain it a little bit more? What are those places doing that is different than a place that is not an institution?
An institution is Peter Luger. It's been there for forever. It's like sort of, I doubt it's funny to say this, but it's like I doubt they're trying to do it any different than they did it the day before. That's funny now I catch myself on that. But it's like, but they're in such a rhythm of doing it that it's just like second nature to them. It's like their tables are super smooth because they've been wiped down so many times, Yeah. It's just they're there's a restaurant in DC called Old Ebbitt's Old Ebbitt Bar and Grill. And it's like it's one of the highest grossing restaurants in the United States. I think they do like $25 million a year.
Wow.
And it's like across the street from the White House or the Treasury. And it's just like, I saw things there like acts of hospitality that I'd never seen before, and it's just sort of like been built up on pillars of just experience that once someone comes through that's trained, they're trained in this way and this rhythm that's happened for years,
Yeah.
and you can't like to open up a new place. It's like, I think the new spot, and down here, it's like your original spot was, that looks like it's been there forever, and you walk in and you're like, oh wow, you feel this sort of like old, New York feel, and then it's dark. It's like, it's wood. There's the fire in the back. Yeah. It's like, that is, you're there. I mean, it's just, it's a real, that is sort of an institution as it is, there's a big door. It's just like, it's a whole.
So Speedy's feels that way. The one in Bedside, Clinton Hill.
Yeah, that
feels like it's been there a long time.
That was the plan. Or it's like we didn't mess with the outside facade. We left the old auto parts there. We left the old neon sign.
Yeah.
And we did the same to try to treat it minimally, you know?
I think the thing in New York, maybe more than anywhere else, what makes restaurants special is the people.
People.
You know, New York personalities. I mean, even Peter Luger's, okay, you have all of these old waiters.
Right.
I mean, that's, you know, and even the young guys are old waiters.
Yeah.
They have the same kind of attitudes.
What
and
is it, though?
everything.
What is that?
It's just, I don't know, it's just, you know, I think they feel that they're working someplace very special and offering something very special that gives them a certain attitude. But there's a lot of character in people, you know, in New York.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to be from New York sometimes
Yeah.
to be there. I think that people, you know, like you, Justin, you gravitated here because you're comfortable with, you know, with that.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think that it circles back to what we were talking about at the beginning, is firing up the team at the beginning of the shift. It seems like those places, these institutions, take their story so seriously and their culture so seriously that when new people come in, you know, maybe it's an 18-year-old kid coming in today who has not been part of Peter Luger's, you know, ever in his life, but he walks in the door as a new employee and he's like, no, I'm part of this tradition that's much bigger than me, and now I care about.
And
the
you
work
want
I'm doing.
you want the guests to feel that. And I always think about Joe DiMaggio when he said that he always wants to be on the top of his game because you never know when some little boy is coming to see him play for the first time. People hear about our restaurants. They, you know, he has a Michelin star, and you know, they hear about us. They come with high expectations, and you don't want them to be disappointed. So you really have to, you know, it's a responsibility at that point. You know, you just can't get by.
Yeah.
You know, and so you kind of get locked in with making sure that what people have heard about your place happens. You know,
I love that. And
there's really not much of a choice. You have to, or you'll be out of business.
Yeah, and you can't take a day off with that mindset.
No, you can't. Well, I take Mondays off. Scary.
Paulie, we got 1:30 right now.
What did I say? What did I say? I have to be there. I have to be there at 2:45.
Where do you have to be?
I have to be at Penn Station 2:45 to get there. I have 2:15. So, yeah.
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 All right.
Say
One more
profound.
question. One more question. Yeah. What do you think about, what is it in each of you that you have that allows you to be successful here?
I have found something. I've created something that allows me to be the way I love to be, and do what I love to do. I'm doing that, and I'm not compromising my feelings, and you know, I do it. I do it whether I think it's, you know, the perfect way to do things or not, but it's worked out for me. I've created my own thing that's perfect for me, and do what I'm loving. I'm not forcing myself to do anything.
And what you love is being in a group of people, sharing food,
Socializing.
listening to music, socializing.
Sharing my likes, you know, sharing my music, sharing places I like to go with people, and feed them something that they feel is special.
High five for that. That's awesome.
I mean, I think why both of us are successful, and I mean, I can't speak for him, but I think it's coming from the same spot, is that we enjoy great food.
Yeah.
And I think we have good palates that understand what good food is, and then we hold our restaurants to that same standard of, like, you know, I'm not going to put a dish on the menu that I don't think is a 10.
Yeah.
You know, if it's like, you know, a little off, then I'm going to think about how can I tweak it to get it there.
Yeah.
But it's like, I'm never going to put anything on the menu that I wouldn't want to order myself.
That says it all.
And so with that, it's just like, I think that's why both Paulie and I are successful, is because we know what good food is. We know what a great experience at a restaurant is. And so then we have tried to emulate that in our own places. And, you know, and that goes with a life of eating great food and enjoying people. And he had parties at his place, and, you know, he's always been hospitable, and, you know, and he taught himself. I mean, I didn't really teach myself, but I learned what I had done wrong, and I didn't want to do it wrong anymore.
That's it for this episode. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. This is Ty McDonald, your host, and thank you for listening to the Jalapeno Podcast. That was Paulie Gee of Paulie Gee's fame. If you're in New York, go to Greenpoint, go to Paulie Gee's, introduce yourself. You'll be glad that you did. And also, of course, Justin Bazdarich of Speedy Romeo. Also go to Oxomoco. Oxomoco's in Greenpoint as well. And Speedy Romeo, there's one in Brooklyn and Clinton Hill / Bed-Stuy, and one in Lower East Side of Manhattan, where you will also find the Stilettos Slice Shop inside Speedy Romeo of the Lower East Side, which is not to be missed. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Paulie, for being on the show. It was a pleasure to have you on, and certainly happy to spread the word about both of your creations, both your wonderful restaurants. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We will see you next time on the Jalapeno Podcast. Thank you, Aaron Mason, for the sound expertise and all your wonderful contributions to the program. Thank you, CF Watkins, for the artwork. Thank you, Roos, for the music you heard up front. Thank you as well to A Nave Especial for the music. Thank you again, listeners. Love ya.